Assalamu alaikum. At the beginning of the 18th century, India's share of the world economy was almost 23%, as large as that of Europe put together. By the time the British Raj ended in India in 1947, the Indian share had dropped to just over 3%. The reason was very simple. India was governed for the benefit of Britain. Britain's rise for 200 years was financed by its plunder in India. How did it all begin? Watch Tareekh exclusive English series, Britain's Rise and India's Doom. It all began with the East India Company, when it was permitted from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth I in a royal charter in 1600 AD to trade in silk and spices and other profitable Indian commodities. Thereafter, the company, in order to regularize its trade, it established its trading posts or factories along the Indian coast, notably in Calcutta, Madras, and Bombay. Increasingly, the company needed to defend its premises, personnel, and trade, and they did this by military means. They recruited soldiers, and quickly their commercial interests became a means of conquest, and their trading posts were reinforced by forts, and merchants were supplanted by armies. When the first British ambassador to India, Sir Thomas Roe, presented his credentials in 1615 AD at the court of Mughal Emperor Jahangir, the Englishman was a very minor petitioner at the feet of the world's mightiest and most opulent monarch. At that time, the Mughal Empire stretched from Kabul to the eastern extremes of Bengal and from Kashmir in the north to Karnataka in the south, where Tipu Sultan would also once rule later. But less than a century and a half later, this Mughal Empire was in a state of collapse after the spectacular sacking of Delhi by the Persian Nadir Shah in 1739 and the loot of all its treasures. The Mughal capital Delhi was plundered and burned over 8 long weeks. Gold, silver, jewels and finery worth over 500 million rupees in those days were seized along with the entire contents of the imperial treasury, especially the emperor's famous peacock throne. 50,000 dead bodies also littered the streets of Delhi. It is said that when Nadir Shah and his forces returned back home from India, they had stolen so much from India that all taxes were eliminated in Persia for the next 3 years. In the anarchy that ensued in the following decades after Nadir Shah's sacking of Delhi, that is in the second half of the 18th century, multiple rival powers tried to gain control of India. Marathas were the largest groups at that time that ruled from Pune near Bombay, while Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan in the south ruled from Mysore, and Nizam of Hyderabad obviously ruled from Hyderabad. Many other nominal Nawabs and Maharajas also tried to assert their power at the expense of the weakening central Mughal authority. In all this mayhem and anarchy, under the command of Robert Clive in 1757, the East India Company won a very famous victory in Plassey over the ruling Nawab, Siraj-ud-Dowlah of Bengal. They did this through a combination of superior artillery and even more superior deception, which involved the betraying of the Nawab of one of his closest generals in war, Mir Jafar, whom the company later placed on his throne in exchange for de facto control of Bengal. Mind you, Bengal and Bihar were the richest provinces in Mughal India at that time. Robert Clive was soon able to transfer the princely sum of 2.5 million pounds at that time, that is 250 million pounds in today's worth, which were the entire contents of Nawab's treasury, to companies' coffers in England as spoils of his conquest. 8 years later, In August 1765, after the defeat in the Battle of Buxar, the young and weakened Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II was browbeaten into issuing a royal Diwani, which was a royal farman or a document that replaced his own Mughal revenue officials in the provinces of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa with that of the East India Companies. The magnitude of this event needs to be understood. An international corporation with its own private army and Nawabs and Maharajas paying deference to it had now officially become a revenue collecting enterprise. India would never be the same again. Join me next time for more on the same topic, Britain's rise and India's doom. Thank you for watching Tareekh. Jazakallah.